Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Ghost in the Shell, Scarlett Johansson. Have a seat, please. Welcome to Japan, Scarlett.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be back in Japan?
Oh, I love Tokyo. It's such a great city. And the last time I had the chance to work here, I was much younger than today. Well, I was 17. And, every time I've returned here, it feels familiar to me, I think, because I had those, very early days here.
Right.
So it's a wonderful city. I love it.
I see. Thank you very much. Now, were you aware of Ghost in the Shell prior to being cast?
No, I didn't know the material, and when the script came to me, it also came with a copy of the anime, and when I first saw it, it seemed quite daunting. I think because the anime is so philosophical, and I didn't know how it would exactly translate to a live-action film, or really what I could contribute to it exactly. Mm-hmm. But it was alluring, definitely alluring.
Right. You just mentioned alluring. What was alluring about the role? You played the Major?
When I met with Rupert, and I'd been sent this pretty impressive visual presentation, it was just absolutely magnificent. And I think you'll see the result of it shortly. But, we started to talk about the journey of the Major and how the character was going to be driving the story. And I started to imagine that this was a character who was really living a very unique experience of somebody who has an idea of who she thinks she was, and then who she is now, the life she's living now, and then the person that she feels she is, this sort of gnawing, clawing feeling she has in her ghost, and that being able to kind of play these three sides, we called it the sort of the ego and the super ego and the id.
Yeah.
And that was pretty enticing for me.
Right. Okay. So I guess what goes on inside is extremely complicated as far as the character of the Major is concerned. But how did you train for? Again, it's a very cerebral part, and yet you must be very physical. What kind of training did you do for this role?
Of course, I did a lot of training just because I wanted to be able to have the physical presence of somebody who seemed very capable. And then, of course, I had to actually be quite capable. And luckily, I have had a lot of fight training and weapons training for all those little Marvel movies that I do. So it actually comes quite in handy because you kind of know that physical vocabulary.
Right.
And then did a lot of, it's a lot of repetition, mm-hmm. and then a lot of tactical training, which I'd never done before, like room clearing and all of that stuff, to just be as efficient with the weapon as possible.
Mm-hmm. I see. Now, how was it working with Rupert?
You know what, Rupert and I had, I think from the very beginning, we were really dedicated to our partnership, because we think we both knew very early in those early days that we would have to do this walking hand in hand in order to maintain the integrity of the work and what we had set out, this kind of mission statement that we made in the beginning. And I think, again, when I see the pieces of the film, I see the result of that teamwork, really. So we were each other's partner, for sure.
How was it working with Takeshi?
I think when you work with somebody who has been so great for such a long time, you kind of stand back and observe. And it's interesting. I feel that acting, it's kind of a, as Rupert was saying earlier. Mm-hmm. Of course, Takeshi was speaking Japanese. I was speaking English, but acting is such a it's human. Mm. It's all about what's going on inside, and I felt so many complicated things, in Aramaki's presence. Sort of a feeling of, shame at times, a feeling of, wanting to, an eagerness to please, and then also feelings at times like a petulant child, and having all of these feelings acting opposite somebody who we didn't share this language, but we share the universal language is kind of, this, which is just the emotional, vocabulary that we have as two actors. It was very moving.
So you felt that maybe being professionals in theater and acting kind of transcended, I guess, language. I guess you guys kind of communicated in the universal language, so to speak.
Totally, absolutely. That's the beauty, I think, of being able to work on a film as diverse as this, because you really, you're working with actors from many different backgrounds, theater backgrounds. Some are, are working in dance. Others are, in photography. And it was really, we all shared the same, the kind of that connectivity that we all, that kind of brings us together, I think.
I see. Now, what would you say to so many fans throughout the world, to all the fans of Ghost in the Shell? What can you tell them? What do you want them to expect? What do you want them to feel?
I think for me, I have such a soft spot for the Major, of course, because and her journey of self-discovery. And I think this film, for me, is really, even though it's set in this explosive world with, that's just extraordinary, and it's so visually stunning, and it's so action-packed, it's really, to me, a story it's a coming-of-age story, and a story about, the loss of innocence, and then also the kind of rebirth that you can have from that. And I hope that the fans connect with the Major the way that I connected with her.